Now listen to Jesus' words. "You unbelieving and perverse generation," Jesus replied, "how long shall I stay with you? How long shall I," here's our word, "how long shall I put up with you? Bring the boy here to me." Now obviously, this is not a popular verse. This is not one we go around reciting. In fact, we should be astounded that these words are even on Jesus' lips. The world would entreat Jesus to maybe Jesus needed to read a little bit more Dale Carnegie, right? How to Win Friends and Influence People, because this is certainly not going to do it. Is Jesus being insensitive? I don't believe so. There are a few things that are going on in this with Jesus' words here, and it's more than what we can cover this morning. But first, let's look at it this way. It's always good to know what comes before a passage and what comes after a passage. And so recall Jesus' mountaintop experience. He was just on the Mount of Transfiguration, where Jesus shone with glory, and he enjoyed the loving praise of his Father. "This is my beloved Son with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him." That's as close as Jesus, in his flesh, prior to his ascension, that he will get to heaven. Until after he goes to the cross and ascends, this is as close as Jesus, the God-man, will ever be to heaven in the flesh. And so he has the painful valley of death that he has to endure, which he had foretold to his disciples just before the Mount of Transfiguration, and then just after our passage about Jesus healing this son who has a demon. And so coming down the mountain, Jesus was back in a valley of sin and unbelief. He's reminded of this by the crowd. He's reminded of this by the suffering of this man's son. And he's reminded of this by the lack of faith from his disciples. And so Jesus says, "You believing and perverse generation, how long shall I stay with you? How long shall I put up with you? Bring the boy here to me." One thing that we should recognize, because this shows Jesus' humanity. And remember, to sin is not to be human. To sin means to be fallen. But Jesus is truly human. To bear with sin is painful. It's suffering. It's something that is not pleasant to endure. Jesus did not delight in bearing with sin any more than God delighted in bearing with sin. Oh, how long! Oh, how he longs to be rid of it. Not by going away, but by paying for it in full with his own blood, so that it might no longer wreak havoc, so it might no longer cause pain and suffering, so his creation and his creatures may no longer have to suffer under the weight of sin.